started right away. Let's start with Lauren Rosen.
Hey, Coach, after I'm sure what was a weird weekend and now a shortened couple of days off, what are your goals for the rest of the week in terms of just like getting on track and back going with the season?
I don't know if we have any goals, Lauren. We had a good practice. I think that's our first practice in several weeks, and we actually had live bodies in practice, so that was good. Just getting better. It's been so tough working out, not having enough guys, trying to teach execution, but you're teaching it with guys that wouldn't normally be in the spot that you're teaching it in. And so at least today we had what looked like the Sixers, instead of the 7, Sixers. That's how I felt like we've been lately. So today we had a pretty good group on the floor.
Next up is Mark Narducci.
Hey, Doc, could you update us on Joel? Was he at practice today, and you expect him to go tomorrow?
Yeah, I do expect him to go. He was in and out of practice today. We didn't let him do a lot of stuff, but he looked pretty good.
One other thing, this was, like you said, you haven't had an actual practice because you're playing every other day almost. What was it like just to be able to work with the team and everything?
It was nice, Mark. We need one. I mean, we're not one of those teams that have the luxury of being together for several years. We have so many new bodies, a new system, new coach, everything. So to have all those games and no practice, and then to have all those guys out, and even your shoot-arounds are not what you expect them to be, absolutely has affected us. I would love to say it hasn't, but it's no doubt. You can see it today. Trying to run simple actions that we couldn't remember or we had bad timing on. So important practice. I don't know if it'll show results right away, but definitely need it.
All right, thank you.
Let's go to Jamie Apodi next.
Doc, along the same lines there, how difficult has this been, with the couple stoppages and then, having to stay over on the road an extra night and not having your full complement of players and still having the games beyond? Can you just speak, in your entire career to kind of how difficult this has been for you?
Yeah, it's been difficult, Jamie. I've not faced this before. I mean, I've had teams with a lot of injuries before. I've not had teams where you had to stay extra night in cities twice already. The only game I still think that we shouldn't have played was the Denver game. I thought that game should have never been played. But I guess if you look at some of the other games, I mean, being in Atlanta with only 8 and 9 guys, was it fair? I guess it was, because we had 8 or 9 guys. We can't choose who's out, but it has absolutely been very difficult. Not only just trying to play games with not enough guys, but because we're so new to each other and just trying to get the execution part of our team together. I mean, you would hope at this point you have a lot of it, and we just don't. And so you just got to keep working on it. I mean, a lot of teams are going through it, and so we just have to keep pushing forward.
Next up is Tom Moore.
Doc, I was wondering, since you hadn't worked out in so long, did you have to review much, or were you kind of able to pick up where you left off last week? Like, how did you handle that?
No, we had to review a lot. It's funny. We kind of did a little coaches test is what we call them, where we did a lot of skeleton stuff by calling out stuff and just to see if they could run it. And, probably average. Some they could, some they couldn't. And I guess for the staff, it told us what we didn't know or what we did know well. And so we had a chance to work on some of that.
Thank you.
Next up, Ed Benkin.
Hi, Doc. You just talked about the difficulties of getting practice between what's going on with you guys this week and what we've been hearing around the league. How difficult has it been just emotionally on a day-by-day basis to deal with the situation? I know everybody's in it, but just for your players to deal with it emotionally.
Yeah, I think it's Ed, I'm glad you said everybody's in it, because we can't lose sight of that either. Like, it's every day, everywhere, in every office, and so it's in our workplace as well. The other thing that I try to just be aware of is everyone has dealt with this virus differently. There's some guys that have no fear, and then there's some guys that have tons of anxiety about it, and there's nothing you can do about that. That's that doesn't make them weak. That makes them aware, and so you got to watch that too. There's several guys, that just this whole virus thing freaks them out, and we got to deal with that too. So there's a lot of issues for a lot of teams. I don't think I've ever talked to as many head coaches during the season as I have during this season thus far. It's amazing how many times I get a call or someone will, or I will call someone just to ask, like, are you having shoot arounds? I've had a couple coaches because of the testing just say, we're not having any shoot arounds. We're just going to show up and see what happens, so we're all learning right now.
Austin Krell, you're up.
Hey, Doc. So, right now, you guys are, amongst the league leaders and, opponents scoring off turnovers. Is that something like down the line that you feel like you're going to incorporate more of your own playbook to sort of help alleviate those turnovers?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I think a lot of that is just bad basketball that we have to be better at with our spacing and trying to force it. But a lot of it, Austin, is, again, you have all these guys out. You have all these guys playing different positions. Clearly, you're going to have a better executing team when everybody's healthier. And in my opinion, we'll cut down on the turnovers. And also, if you put Joel on the floor and Seth on the floor and Furkan on the floor, you're probably going to have less turnovers as well.
Take the last one here, Tim Bontemps.
Hey, Doc, I was just curious. Ben's shooting numbers are down a little bit in terms of like number of attempts per game. His scoring's down a little bit. I know he's playing a couple of minutes a game less, but is that a product of anything you guys are doing specifically, or would you like him to see him be a little more aggressive looking for his own offense too?
Yeah, I really don't care, honestly. I don't even look. I think I let the world look at it. Everyone's going to tell you anyway, so I'm not that concerned with it yet. Right now we don't have enough in to see where any of our guys are at, if you want me to be honest. And we're working on it. We had a day today, which was important. We worked on a lot of stuff, probably too much, being honest. But we had to, in my opinion, we had no choice. But not that concerned right now. I swear you're almost in the let's try to win a game mode right now. And that's really not the way you should be at in this part of the season. You should be working on your execution and getting better mode. And I think most teams are more in the thing that I said first. Let's figure it out, see what we can do, and then keep working when we have time.
When you said you had to do too much stuff today, is part of that because you're not sure when you'll be able to practice again, just based off the way things are going?
That plus we didn't, this is the first one in a long time. And more importantly, we had enough guys. Like even on a couple of days we had a somewhat of a practice, we didn't have enough guys to practice. So today was a day we had enough guys. We could change, we could sub in practice and put different units on the floor. We have found we're playing a lot of games where there's 5 guys that are on the floor and 3 have never played with each other, and it makes it difficult. But that's every team all over the league.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.